Hello, and thanks for joining me again this week. First, let me say Happy Father's Day to everyone out there who deserves a card, a meal, or some time with the ones they love. I want to start with news about a new addition to the county's agricultural reserve. I've talked about Crossvines before, but this week I and about 200 other people got to experience it for the first time. Crossvines is a grape crush facility intended to help grape farmers and winemakers. Though grapes and winemaking offer a high-value crop to farmers, it can take 3 to 5 years to produce a full crop of grapes after you plant the vines. Equipment necessary for crushing and making wine can add another $1 million or more to the cost of operating a winery. The crush pad we built is intended to be a community resource and will enable farmers to start growing grapes, then use the Crossvines facility to destem, crush, and then process the juice for its final destination, a wine bottle. This facility will ease the path for farmers to add grapes and wine to their production. The brand new facility in Poolesville is also an event and meeting space and an educational space for farmers and students learning about agriculture and specifically about wine production. Programs at Montgomery College will develop a new generation of winemakers in Montgomery County. Crossvines started as the seed of an idea at least 11 years ago when I was a county council member. Kevin Addix, then the rep for state wineries and now the state's agriculture secretary, was speaking at a conference on making wine in Maryland. And he said that the reason we hadn't replicated Northern Virginia's wine country model had more to do with our winemakers and less to do with our environment. Once I learned that this side of the Potomac is just as good at producing the right kind of grapes for fine wine, I started looking into how to make this happen. He also explained the flaws that some crush pads had experienced elsewhere, and I proposed an operational structure that would avoid the problems that had arisen there. My goal was to introduce a crop that would increase the potential income of farmers in order to help ensure the viability of agriculture in Montgomery County, reinforcing the goal of creating the Ag Reserve in the first place. This facility will reduce the cost of entering the winemaking business, allow farmers to begin growing, and then using Crossvines to process the grapes until they grow to the point that they can buy their own equipment. It took a lot of partners and coordination to get us to Monday's ribbon cutting and grand opening celebration. I want to thank the University of Maryland for helping us build the Crossvines facility the right way. I want to thank the leaders in Poolesville for trusting us when we came out to meet with them with this idea. I want to thank our state leaders who shared the vision for Crossvines and supported our request for state assistance to build this project. I really want to thank Keith Miller for listening 11 years ago and then doing the research that enabled us to plan the path forward. And I want to thank Marc for putting together the team that built this great facility, the crush pad and the event center, which will both be major attractions in the county. We're still a few weeks from opening to the public, but I can't wait for the first visitors to arrive on July 8th. In the meantime, check out the facility's website, crossvines.com. This week, we also celebrated a project that has been proven to be a huge success. The Montgomery County Animal Services and Adoption Center is home to the county's 4th microgrid and 2nd resiliency hub. I've talked about these before as we look to electrify buses and upgrade a community center like the one in Potomac, Scotland neighborhood. A microgrid uses solar panels to turn the sun into an energy source. That can be used to power a facility and save on energy costs. But taking the next step and storing that power so that it can be used on demand is what turns the project into a resiliency hub. After 5 months of construction, it became operational in November of 2022, just a few days ahead of a plane crash that knocked out power to 100,000 people. While the plane was stuck in the electrical wires near the Montgomery County Air Park in Gaithersburg for several hours, the Resiliency Hub at the Animal Services and Adoption Center made it possible for the facility to remain open throughout the whole ordeal because the microgrid worked as expected. That center never lost its power. I want to thank Green Structure for their work turning our idea into something viable, and David Dice for his leadership at the Department of General Services. This is something Montgomery County is leading the way on. We can't expect to meet our Climate Action Plan goals of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 80% in 2027 and 100% by 2035 without projects like this. We're also building models for other communities to follow. We know that what we do here will not on its own alter the disastrous trajectory that we've managed to set our planet on. It will take more efforts here, but also around the world to minimize the damage that will be done. But we can use victories like this to help others see that there are solutions out there and that they're within reach. A lot of people's pessimism is rooted in not seeing what's possible. And what the county can do is be a place that others can look to for implementable solutions that are necessary if we're going to create a greener county for us and future generations. As part of our extensive Juneteenth celebration this year, Montgomery County's Office of Human Rights will be handing out African American Legends Awards. The county will honor individuals who are at least 75 years old and considered living legends in our community for helping shape the cultural heritage of the African American community here. These are people who have dedicated their lives to service, advocacy, and selfless acts of kindness in Montgomery County. I'll host the awards ceremony at the BlackRock Center for the Arts in Germantown starting at 7 o'clock Friday night. Then on Saturday, the entire community is welcome to come to celebrate at the BlackRock Center from noon to 10. The free event is meant for the whole family with music, educational activities, and movies on tap throughout the day. An artisans market and curated food trucks will also be available. Organizers are asking visitors who drive to park at the Montgomery College Germantown campus or Seneca Valley High School and take a shuttle bus to BlackRock. Ride-on buses will also be available from Shady Grove. For more information about Saturday's events, please visit blackrockcenter.org/Juneteenth. Meanwhile, in downtown Silver Spring Saturday, we'll see the final day of the 14th annual Silver Spring Blues Festival. You can expect an all-star lineup of blues performers from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Tickets are not required. Visit silverspringtowncenter.com for a full lineup of artists that day. On Monday, we commemorate the emancipation of enslaved African Americans on Juneteenth. The federal government first observed Juneteenth as a federal holiday in 2021, but Montgomery County has marked the holiday for nearly 30 years. This year, we're making it a fun weekend for the entire region through the annual Scotland Juneteenth Heritage Festival. It includes special events from Friday to Monday spread across our region, including events in Wheaton, Bethesda, and Gaithersburg, and neighborhood celebrations in Scotland and Cabin John, to name a few. For more information and to plan your weekend, visit juneteenthscotland.org. Juneteenth was largely an invisible holiday for far too long. To be honest, the celebration of the 4th of July as the monument to American freedom and independence rang pretty hollow to the Black community in a country that had enshrined human slavery in its Constitution. And in the years that followed the end of slavery, but continued segregation and denial of basic human rights, that was and is a real contradiction to what the 4th was meant to celebrate. The recognition of Juneteenth represents an important turning point in our nation's history, and some in our community call it their Independence Day. I hope you get a chance to make one of the many events held in Montgomery County to honor Juneteenth. This week we honored the contributions made by Caribbean Americans in Montgomery County and across the nation. There was a luncheon ahead of a proclamation we shared on Tuesday afternoon, and that evening we had our celebration bringing together the community for dinner to recognize their accomplishments and contributions to Montgomery County. I would like to thank the members of the Caribbean American Advisor Group, the Office of Community Partnerships, and the county's Caribbean Liaison for their work in making sure that we continue to make every community feel welcome here in Montgomery County. So here we are at the end of another school year. I know that many people look forward to the summer and time away from the classroom. I'm sure it's true for teachers and students and administrators. But for some students, being away from the classroom also means being away from lunch and being away from medical care. Having access to a school nurse on a regular basis, mental health help, or free meals throughout the week are examples of how our education system has evolved from simply providing a place of learning to a center that helps students in a holistic way. The support that our schools provide to all students, especially those who come from financially struggling families, is something that will be missed until the bells ring again in September. I encourage people to please think about and help those families this summer by donating to local food banks and volunteering your time in ways that benefit families that won't get a summer trip. I'd also like to mention the county's summer reading program through the Montgomery County Public Libraries. Just last month, it was recognized by the National Association of Counties as an outstanding program. It encourages regular reading throughout the summer, which helps children to be better prepared for the start of the next school year. And finally, a little bit about COVID. The good news is we couldn't have started the summer in a better position. Case rates are near historical lows, and hospitals are only seeing a handful of patients with COVID, far below the levels that would have lifted us out of the low community status that we've been in for the last few months. I'm still encouraging people to get your bivalent booster if you have yet to get one. You can still book an appointment through the county, your physician's office, or the nearby pharmacy. The booster shots have helped prevent us from having cases of COVID that put people in the hospital, and as long as it's around and mutating, boosters will probably be with us, as they're modified to be effective against emerging variants. But the one simple truth is, and I'd like to leave you with this, is that no one needs to die from COVID anymore. Getting vaccinated is the best protection you can have. So that's a wrap for today. I hope you have a great week, and I'll be back again next week.